I kind of wonder if if there's a parallel between Belarus and Russia now and Germany and Hungary in the 40s. Because my hypothesis is that World War II was a controlled burn because there was a over liquidation of markets and collapse was on so they had to burn down a lot of industry. Like people will have businesses that take a loss so they can pay taxes, and they'll keep like this one business or a couple of businesses that are like losing, right? So anyway, at some point in time, the Nazis, they commandeered, or it was like, I don't know if you want to say annexed, they occupied Hungary, which was an ally. And I think it had to do with something about the way that they were fighting. So the Hungarians thought that they were being used as cannon fodder to cover German retreats. They had just been attacked by the Russians. And for some reason, Hitler moved on them. He was not supposed to do that. Yeah. He would be like, they would have made amends just like they did with Hirohito. But I think Hitler is one toke over the line for them. He burned down half of the Hungarian Rothschilds' estates. People will say that, okay, the effect of the Rothschilds, no, not people will say, this is part's true. The effect of the Rothschilds funding the Bolsheviks is still going on today. The power that the Rothschilds has today is almost nothing compared to what it was before. And so who is it that likes us to play up the mystique of the power of the Rothschilds? Who likes us to play up the mystique of that? Because you already know that there's controlled. We already know that there's controlled opposition, psyops, and limited hangout shit. Like, so that we make a mistake. Like, we'll hold somebody accountable for something without having a legal definition for a crime they committed, and then our jokes become the limited hangout for them to escape. So it's like they didn't do anything illegal. You have to figure out what they did anyways, right? So like a hedge fund manager or something, say like even if he didn't break the law, he's still a bastard, right? He's still a motherfucker. Some people probably, I'm not the first person to say this. They heard it before, then they don't really have a reason to watch my channel. But this, maybe that's like something. I want to stay along the lines of information that isn't like half like divided up between something that might be something you didn't know and something that we're like, hey, I'm back on level 1. We're like breaking things down for, somebody who's on level 1 at the same time. So, do I think it's another controlled background? Because I'm suspicious because the corporate oligarchies, they were kind of like um, would like to have more destabilization. Do you notice how if you look for a new potential investment in a like in a sense of like taking many shots in the dark like a venture capitalist, right? You look for volatility. Like investors look for volatility. That's an opportunity. Um so they were going to try to create stimulate uh the economy. Um and it was like they need the volatile situation. You know what I mean? They need the demilitarized zone. They need the no-fly zone. They like things like that. The Eagles, this year, their whole little mantra was no-fly zone, and I think that's for a reason. You know, there's white flight going on in sports. Sports is getting overtaken by gangs. So there's like people making touchdowns in basketball, shooting basketball hoops, and throwing up the set. And the themes are like predictive programming. You know, like I said, like strength in numbers is really telling you subliminally more is better. Smart people already know that's not always the case. You know, then then they hit you with the boosting. You already know boosting is on itself like something you're supposed to avoid. Like drinking Red Bull is vulgar. You know, you're just boosting your energy. Taking Viagra is a psychotrope. It's an mRNA. Viagra is like the what we. So this is so crazy because so much, man. You're accessing the limbic system to crank up the libido when you take Viagra. And when you take the mRNA vaccine, which is not really a vaccine, that they're changing dictionaries right now to include, right, the definition of mRNA as a vaccine for its uses in the vaccine, but it's not. It's a psychotropic, and it accesses the immune system, but through the limbic system. Jimmy Riches. You know what I mean? Jimmy Rich is hot about Jimmy Riches. He didn't know there was a such thing as Jimmy Riches, but just on the fact that he's Jimmy Rich, he's pissed, right? He's hot about Jimmy Riches. I'm gonna bounce all over the subjects and everything. So let me see. What is parallel about Belarus? Because I got to be careful because sometimes I say things. It gets an impression. It's from an impression, but that is just a fraction, or like I'm just dealing with a sliver of the picture about that country. It's talking about the Olympics before something happened within that. Like it was like a scene in the airport where one of the athletes was all, jocked by journalists and people, but there was like it was like showing that she didn't have certain freedoms even in another country because she was a Belarusian. So they were treating her like meat, basically. She was like not allowed to she had to leave. She lost her, they didn't take away her passport. They just kicked her out of the team. So she could have got a hotel. It was like, sure, she could leave right now if she wanted to, but they were like, no, you are leaving right now. Okay, that was that. Okay. give me a certain impression about them being backwards and shit. I've seen free Belarus T-shirts, and I was suspicious of that too, because I was thinking that's like more of that Slava Ukraine, like pushing them to the last Ukrainian to go test our technologies out there. We want to lend them some of our cotton ball shit so that we can, and then test some of our more, so the technology slightly gets better in the middle of the war. Do you notice how during the war that they start out shitty, and by the end of the war they all end up like they're all super bad, right? That's dangerous. That's why they go a little bit overboard. That's why they go one toke over the line. Tiny mustache man, one toke over the line, one toke over the line. And they ended up burning down the Rothschild, which I'm sure wasn't supposed to happen, right? They couldn't have been part of the plan, right? So that's why they didn't redeem him like they did Hirohito. He's still bad. If he wouldn't have done that, they could have changed some of the reports and turned around some of the history and be like, we would be in reverence just like Hirohito. Like, oh, emperor. It doesn't fucking don't moral relativism. I mean, I guess it's hard not to, because you don't want to offend people's sensibilities, what they've been, this cognitive dissonance. If you would have been able to avoid it, I would have just not dealt with any of it. I don't want to know who the fuck Hitler is in the past. This shit. Don't fucking bring that shit around here. I'm trying to do something else. Around me, you know what I mean? Kept doing that out here, kid. And they just sent the they just sent the tactical nukes over to Belarus. It's possible. Putin doesn't look like Tiny Mustache Man, but he could be. It just depends on if he stops and doesn't go one toke over the line. Because right now it's kind of blendy. It's like there's Nazis on both sides, or like some people are gonna get mad if I said that there's Nazis on both sides. Like, you're only supposed to notice the ones on the other side, and then, or if I don't want to say that they got mad, but when I said that they have false progress reports, they say, oh yeah, like the Russians, just the Russians. Like, as far as militaries go with false progress reports, which false progress reports is those quality control when they want the guy above them to be happy with the progress, that they falsify some of the standards, and then on the day of the battle, like, let's say the cartridges they're shooting around the corner, and the hot cartridges are popping out and hitting them in the face where they gotta hide. So they gotta correct that by standing on the other side of the gun and firing. Yeah. And can you win like that? And then even if you can't win like that, nobody has they don't have a military background to know that, because they've been told that everything is, is good, so they don't understand why you would be losing at a ratio, like maybe like 8 times more than the enemies or something, and then just keep like saying, well, push forward. You even push forward with a fatal flaw, and by the time everything is rolling and everything, nobody can stop it. That's why it's a trip, because I know I was always anti-war the whole time. Like, there's no such thing as trolling me. You know, I'm not gonna get trolled by pro-Ukrainian or pro-Russian people trying to make me feel guilty, because I've been saying that, like, you shouldn't trust Hunter Biden, the big guy. Who's the big guy? Always want to be the big guy, and then now there's a spot where nobody wants to be the big guy, but there's like his position to be occupied, except for the fact that everybody's looking to arrest him, in a way that seems to be like renewal and resplendent. Like, it's just going to be like throughout time immemorial, the big guy always getting taken down by whoever it is that is like standing for the people, you know, for the people. And fucking, or it would be somebody who was like a brute, and in their old age they changed some of their ways because they was a little bit too, you know what I mean, like, you're too tough. Somebody's gonna get you for the fact that you're too tough. You're too tough, or you're too scary or something, you know what I mean? Like, it's the baddest, those are the ones that get killed first. And in wars, the best soldiers get killed first. You know, like the average soldiers get trained up they're veterans and everything, but it's designed to take out the best soldiers first. It's different from the days of the champion, you know what I mean? They used to send the mutants into the vanguard. They used to send the people with no education, like they're serf class mutants or something. But by the time you recognize that they were sending their intelligentsia and their nobility into battle, they were over. They were done. So everything in this video is stealing, because there's all, I don't know, the one thing that would be remarkable or unbelievable is how many different kinds of videos across how many different swaths of like society that I've taken videos in from. So it's just that. It's not so much as like I specialize in some area or I got some telepathy or something like that. It's like, you can really easily convince people that you're smart, you know? And then feel guilty like about, oh my god, because if you're not all the time, then it's even worse. Like, it's even worse. You would rather be stupid than be, all right, well, that's what they say, break up through to the other side, and then you gotta find out what that shit's all about. Laurel Canyon and Jim Morrison's dad and everything. Because he was an admiral in the Navy, and it's just relevant, something to be aware of. Oh, that's another video. I don't want to even make that video. People make that video better than I do anyways. There's a lot of that already. So recently I was talking, did I already mention that? I was talking about that. Never mind, I'm done.